How are you guys doing? This is Martin from Gardens for Life. In this video I'm going to show you where we moved our chickens and the results of that, and we're going to show you our pizza garden and the Bumblebee garden, just a quick update on those, as you can see behind me. The first thing I have to say to you guys is that we haven't been producing so much content over the last few weeks because we've been, unfortunately, we've been having to fight off a big wind turbine development right next to our house here, and there's a lot of people affected here too. Basically, the biodiversity is one thing. The bird population and the insects in our gardens here are definitely going to be affected by that, but also our livelihoods, our health, and also not being able to sleep at night. We're not against windmills at all, but just that type of a windmill is way too close to our house. If you want to support us in signing a petition, I'll leave a link below. Please don't feel obligated to donate to the petition website, but your signature would mean a lot to us. Thanks a million. So with that said, we will be producing a lot more content in the next while, and we have a lot of stuff to say to you guys and a lot of stuff to show you. We've been planting out a lot of our plants grown from seedlings or from seed, and our rooted cuttings have been potted up too, and that's what we're working on at the moment, filling up all of our existing garden spaces. We've almost finished with that. As you can see here, this is the pizza garden here. It's almost already fully planted up again for the 2021 growing season. So in this quick video I'm going to show you how we moved our chickens. We moved them from this area here, which is where they used to be, and we wanted them to do chicken tractoring. Basically, we always move the fence, the electric fence itself. We move it about 4 or 5 times instead of having to move the coop every few weeks, and we give them a fresh piece of ground and they'll have fun scraping and get to eat what's there, for example the grass, and scratch up all the weeds as well. And we are going to be planting up a little bit of an orchard here, or like a tiny food forest or forest garden, once the Wallapini is built in the background. We don't no longer need to access this bit here with a machine, for example with a digger, and so this ground has already been prepared very well, and I'll just show that to you here. As you can see, it's pretty much scorched earth except for a few nettles. This is where the chicken coop was, so we do have to pull up the nettles ourselves because the chickens won't actually do it for you because they won't go near them, and the thistles obviously and blackberries or briars. But as you can see, this will be really good ground to plant into, where we're going to cover it in a layer of compost and some wood chips, formerly known as lasagna gardening. And this is where they used to be, and we have been giving them access to this ground here sometimes. So they've been moved to this permanent location here now, and they're very happy about that now. They can go and explore. They're even in under the forest here. We're a little bit concerned about having pine martens jump off the trees here to get across the electric fence, but we do lock them in at night now, so they should be okay. Yeah, so we're going to get them to eat up all this grass here and basically cover the ground with wood chips here to do a deep litter mulch or wood chip mulch, same as Paul Gauchi. You put down a foot worth of wood chips and the chickens sort of keep working it in. They keep working in their manure. We grow kale especially for the chickens as produce, and we actually give it to the chickens because they love it. Also, it must make the eggs better, and of course it's very healthy for the chickens too, same as it is for us obviously. If it's good for us, it has to be good for the chickens, right? And if the chickens are healthy, we get better quality eggs, so it's a circle of health sort of. So we're going to be producing compost here. Basically the chickens are going to be working through the wood chips and working all that nitrogen goodness through the wood chips, and they are going to produce compost for us over the next years, and then we can simply remove some of it and then put down fresh wood chips on top. So we're going to get the chickens to basically mow all of this grass here, and we're going to remove any of these kind of creeping buttercups, which I don't think the chickens will eat, but they might. Sometimes they do. And we'll keep this bit here as grass, just because it's nice to have a bit of a small bit of a, I wouldn't call it lawn, but a bit of grass in the middle, just for playing ball or whatever, even for the kids. And we'll simply move the electric fence over from here to here, and just kind of bulge it out to here, and get them to mow the grass maybe every couple of months or so, just for a week or two, until they just flatten it, and then we put the fence back. And that's our lawnmower back here. We don't actually need to have a lawnmower in the back garden anyway. We don't need to use our lawnmower, just in the front. So we put down some fresh wood chips here, and it's looking really good. Show you here. Starting to look a lot better than it was last year. But see, these are the old wood chips. I'll show you now. These haven't been replenished for 2 years now, actually, on the pat, and you can see they're breaking down already as you scrape down a little bit. And we could actually plant into it. Obviously this is a pat, so we don't want to, but in a forest garden situation, or if you're doing lasagna gardening, you could actually just plant into old rotten wood chips. Once they're a couple of years old, they're actually good enough already to be planted into, especially if it's the likes of these, like currants and that kind of stuff, and any kind of berry bushes or fruit trees. It's ideal ground for them. And so this is the pizza garden here. If you haven't seen the making of the pizza garden, please do check it out. There's even a compilation of 5 minutes if you don't have an hour to watch the detailed videos. But as you can see, the beds have actually been refreshed now, and we've already planted up a lot of them. There's hip onions here. I know that's way too many, but we're going to be harvesting half of them as we go, just to use as scallions. This is actually Siberian kale, which is really fast growing. It's amazing, and it tastes really good too. It's the same thing as red Russian kale, but it doesn't have the red veins, I guess, but it grows so quickly. This was only planted about 2 weeks ago as tiny little bitty seedlings. And here's Sheldon, the protector of the garden. This is spinach, long standing, I believe it is, the variety. Some kohlrabi, some celery from last year, which is still good this year, and beetroots, and a mixed bed here of course, our favorite vegetable of all time is the Aztec broccoli, which is awesome, and it looks really nice too. You can actually plant it in between ornamentals in a flower garden even. That's what we did in some places, and it won't actually fall out of place, and you can eat it. This is some serious amount of fennel. Yeah, it's good for tea, and also for eating while you're out here. It's good for the stomach, very soothing. This bed here, it's the only bed that hasn't been actually replenished. So as you can see, the compost here is 1 year old now. We actually planted this pizza, or we made this pizza garden in June last year. So this is actually the end of May, the year after. And we're going to just top that up with an extra 10 centimeters of compost here, like we did with these beds here. As you can see, there's a good bit of extra material here because we just didn't put down enough of it in the first place, and I think we're going to go with a foot of compost in all of our garden beds from now on. Just because, well, as long as you can get the compost cheap, but also because it'll actually settle eventually. Only in the first year we're actually going to fork through it, not with a broad fork. We will get a broad fork eventually, but just even using a hay fork, we're just forking through the compost a little bit to decompact it. And then after that, year after year, we're only going to top it up by about 1 inch, just to keep the soil structure below and to feed the soil life as well. So that's the important things to remember, to keep, to not just turn the soil over every single year. Plus it's less work as well. So this is our horseshoe garden. This is one of the projects on our website actually that started. So this is actually how we started most of our no-dig gardens here. We went from annual vegetable production with a few perennials like these currants here, and a few willows and apple trees in between, and Jerusalem artichokes, and of course the willow arch, the magnificent willow arch. We went from that to mostly Jerusalem artichokes here. This is mostly a cash crop for us and also a food crop, to planting also some ornamental plants like the Californian poppy and all sorts of different bits and pieces here, valerian, and a few other medicinal plants, both insectaries as well, and some herbs of course as well for the kitchen. And as you can see here, we have a new bench made of pallets here, and the top garden is looking good too, and we can look out and look down at the chickens. So just on the other side of where the chickens used to be, and the other side of the pizza garden, we have the Bumblebee garden. Some of you might have already seen it in a previous video. We made the beds a little bit wider this year, and we topped it up with an extra 15 centimeters of compost, simply because there just wasn't enough here in the first place. This is just where the compost pile was last year, and I think this is going to be very productive. We had some potatoes and kale here last year, and this year it's mostly kale, so we might even call it Brassica Island. Let's see how we get on. We also have some other bits and pieces planted here too, like parsley, marigolds for the insects, a bit of comfrey, and some red hot pokers. So again then guys, thanks very much for watching the video. We're going to be bringing out more content in the next weeks and months, I promise you that. We've just been flat out, and on top of that we are having to deal with this big commercial wind farm operation going on, or planning permission for those. And please do support us if you can. If you want to, just sign the petition below, give your name and email address. You don't have to give any money at all, that's fine, to the petition website, but your support would be much appreciated, and keep our biodiversity here and our bird population. After all, our house here is actually called Birdland Cottage and Birdland Studio, of course, so we want to keep it that way, and we've been increasing the biodiversity of birds in particular, and insects and butterflies in this area massively. Like, we've seen an increase of probably in about 400% more species in the last 3 or 4 years actually, since we basically moved in here and actually started up our gardens. Thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you at the next one, and please give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Thanks a million. Bye bye.